All right, the Knicks catch an L to the Orlando Magic, 124-107, snapping their 5-game win streak at the Garden. Was a bad night overall, and listen, the Knicks were on a back-to-back, and for me, personally, I think it's really hard to win games on a back-to-back in the NBA, so whenever a team loses, it could be anybody on a back-to-back. It's not something I'm too critical of, especially when you're coming off 5 wins in a row at the Garden. I think Knicks fans, if you are down about this loss, if you are feeling frustrated about this loss, look at the bigger picture here. Zoom out a little bit. This team has won 5 in a row before that. They seem to be turning the corner, and you're going to catch some L's in the NBA. This loss is not that big of a deal. However, there were some things during the game that we could talk about that might have been a little concerning. Now, they come out the gate flat, and Orlando has this defensive energy that the Knicks just could not seem to match on either side of the basketball. We've talked all season about this free-flowing Knicks offense that passes the ball more and gets into the paint and drives and kicks and shoots a lot of threes. And the Knicks just did not seem to get going in anything today. They could not get past the point of attack defense of the Orlando Magic if their name wasn't Jalen Brunson. They rarely got in the paint to drive and kick. And when they did, they weren't hitting their three-pointers. Overall, it was just a sloppy game from the Knicks outside of everybody not named Jalen Brunson. Cat seemed to struggle early on. Kind of, I wouldn't say begging for fouls, but looking for fouls, and when he didn't get them, getting frustrated. Mikal Bridges was pretty much invisible, on the offensive end. Nobody really got going, and honestly, you got to credit Orlando. You got to give credit to the Magic defense here. They played very intense on-ball defense. Off of screens, they were communicating, coming off hard, not letting the Knicks, get comfortable in their dribble handoffs, also controlling the pace. They like to run. They got into the paint, drove and kick, shooting threes, hitting timely threes. It was just a game where the Knicks dug themselves a hole and just were not able to get out of. And that happens sometimes in an 82 regular season game. At the end of the day, you tip your cap to Orlando, you move forward, and you learn from it, right? The Knicks did pick up the defensive intensity in the second half. However, again, when you dig yourself a 20-plus hole, it's hard to get out of. And it was a nice effort. However, fell short on a back-to-back, tired legs. That's another thing you have to think of. This is the team where last year we talked about Tom Thibodeau and him running, the roster into the ground. Well, you're on a back-to-back and you have a different play style now. You are playing faster. You are running more. So, yeah, maybe someone like Josh Hart played 30 minutes yesterday or the game before. But that 30 minutes is a little different when you're playing with Mike Brown than it is Tom Thibodeau, right? Because you are running more. It is more faster pace. It is more of a workout, let's say, than it is with Tom Thibodeau when you're not playing as hard, or you might be standing around on offense as opposed to cutting and moving and passing. It's completely different. So I think the Knicks were just tired. Not that I'm trying to make an excuse here, but at the end of the day, when you zoom out and you look at what the Knicks have been doing, they were ranked first on offense going into this game. I am not worried about this Knicks team at all. 5-game win streak is over. It happens. We could start a new one against Miami. You close out the Garden homestand 6-1. If I would have told you the Knicks would have won 5 in a row, they would have won 6-1 in their 7-game homestand, you would have signed up for that immediately. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to sign up for that immediately. Let's close out the homestand with the win against the Heat. And I think we'll forget about this 5-game winning streak like it never happened, start a new one, and everything will be right in Knicks land. They were the 2 seed going into this game. Catch L. It happens. Not that worried about it, though, if I'm going to be completely honest with you. Now, what I am worried about is Jalen Brunson hobbling off the court last night after the loss, then was seen on crutches in a boot. That's something that I think the Knicks are going to have to monitor. It would not surprise me if Jalen Brunson misses a couple games, maybe a week or so. The replay did show him kind of twisting his ankle. Did not seem to be too bad. He shot the free throws after, then he fouled and left. He was obviously walking under his own power, so it's not something in which I think he's going to have to miss too much time if he does miss his time. I don't think it's that serious of an injury. However, just really knowing that the Knicks could be without Jalen Brunson for the next game or two. And I think that's pretty much what it's going to be when it comes out. This is definitely not a serious injury at all. I would be surprised, though, if he does continue to play every game going forward while he has this ankle injury going on. It's not something I want to risk. It's not something I think any Knicks fan wants to risk, right? This is a reason why a lot of Knicks fans were clamoring for Malcolm Brogdon when he was on the table during free agency. If something like this happened with Jalen, we have a backup point guard we can go to, somebody we can trust to run the offense while Jalen's out. It would be interesting to see who Mike Brown picks to be that backup point guard. Who's going to bring up the ball? Who's going to initiate offense? Is it Tyler Kolek, to me, who might be the most natural point guard on the team, but who's currently out of the rotation? Do you put in Deuce? Deuce doesn't really seem like a point guard to me. He seems more like a swing guard, somebody catch and shoot threes. He can defend point guards, but I don't know if he can bring up the basketball and handle the ball and run an offense, even though other players like Mikal Bridges runs offense at times. Maybe it could be something where it's like, okay, we do this by committee. This is something that everybody's going to have to take the responsibility of. Josh Hart does that on the bench, but I don't think there's one specific player outside of Tyler Kolek that you can plug and say, okay, you are a point guard, run the offense, go get it. But again, like I just said, Mike Brown's offense doesn't necessarily always work that way. All right, well, this was a quick one. Gonna get going. Subscribe to the channel. Let me know what you think about the Knicks' loss here against Orlando Magic. Personally, I'm not too worried about it. Again, try to take things 10 games at a time. If we're 7-3, 8-2, we just keep going 7-3, 8-2. It's gonna be a fantastic season. You're gonna catch L's in the NBA. It's not a big deal. The Magic are a team. They are 5-2 in their last 7 games, so they are playing better basketball as well. It's not like they lost to the Bums or they lost to the Washington Wizards. They lost to a good Eastern Conference team that I do think will probably be in the playoffs when it's all said and done. So don't worry, Knicks fans. Do not panic. Drop me a comment what you think of the game last night. Like the video. Subscribe. See you tomorrow for an episode of Knicks Latest. Peace.